of the Pioneer, how are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to share the developments regarding Russia-Ukraine war with you. In a moment, we will share and examine the latest developments on the front line on the map. The critical process continues, and in a very short time, the front line will become more active than ever. Because after the recent developments, the Russian armed forces began to attack the Ukrainian positions with greater violence, and the Russian armed forces have increased their pressure on the front line. So the Ukrainian armed forces troops continue the resistance. However, it is obvious that they need support to continue the resistance. So, because especially the air pressure of the Russian army has increased, and this pressure is not easy to break. However, at least in this process, the Ukrainian army can create the opportunity to act more easily. So, the curtain effect created by the air defense systems will facilitate the work of the Ukrainian army. So, what are the latest situation on the front line? Let's take a look at developments together. So before starting our report, I need to make a small reminder. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring you developments regarding Russia-Ukraine war, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the videos, and thank you for your support. Let's start if you're ready, because I'm reporting. Let's start with the latest developments on the Kherson front line. The activity on the Kherson front line has decreased considerably. Russian armed forces have captured some positions in the vicinity of the Krinky direction. However, it's not possible to evaluate the Russian successes here as an achievement, because the Russian advance here took place due to the initiative of the Ukrainian armed forces. I've shared with you in many of our previous reports that the situation here is very important, and the Ukrainian armed forces need to be stronger on the Kherson front line. Why? So, because every time the Ukrainian armed forces declare that their main target is the Crimean Peninsula, the route to the Crimean Peninsula passes through the Kherson front line, and any successes on the Kherson front line will pave the way for the Ukrainian army to advance. Therefore, we think that this situation here should be monitored very carefully. Let me continue by analyzing the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted Kherson, Belizerka, Dniprovsky, Veletensky, Kemoinsky, and Antoniivka. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted units of the Russian armed forces stations in Olopriskan, Oleshki, Peshaniivka, Poima, and Perestepnoe. Now, let's go to the latest developments on the Zaporizhia front line. According to the latest reports, fearless clashes using long-range weapons continue on the Zaporizhia front line, and in the Robotin and the northwest of Verbov. The two areas are indeed very active. According to some sources, units of the Ukrainian armed forces tried to counterattack in the vicinity of Verbov. However, the attempts by the Ukrainian armed forces failed. So, on the other hand, there was a similar attempt by the Russian armed forces in the same area. However, the Russian armed forces also failed to make any gains with the attempt. The borderline in the vicinity of Verbov remains largely stable. In the Robotin sector of the Zaporizhia front line, the Ukrainian armed forces still have an initiative advantage, and the Russian armed forces have still not achieved any significant successes. Let me continue with artillery activity in the area. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted units of the Ukrainian armed forces stations in Robotin, Rykhiv, Molotov-Makhcha, and Malish-Robiatsky. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted units of the Ukrainian armed forces stations in Novoprokopivka, Verbov, and Novoprokopovka, and Ichenkov. On the Donetsk front line. According to the reports on the Donetsk front line, following the capture of Ternakoi and Orlovka, the Russian armed forces are developing their offensives towards Semenkovka, which has a water obstacle on its western outskirts. We believe that the situation here should be carefully monitored. This is because the efforts of the Russian armed forces in this area are a milestone for Berdyachi. By capturing this settlement, the units of the Russian armed forces are trying to put Berdyachi, where the counter-conflict is going, under even greater pressure. The pressure of the Russian armed forces is not only in this direction. According to the multiple sources, units of the Russian armed forces are conducting offensive operations on the Donetsk front line in the Pobeda, Permovskoye, and Nevelskoye district. Of course, the Ukrainian resistance here has been quite so far and so strong. So there has still been no breakdown, but however, the contribution of this pressure with the same intensity may cause some problem. So, according to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces in this region targeted units of the Ukrainian armed forces stations in Berdyachi, Pervomskoye and Novolsky, Pobeda, Semenkiivka and Krasnohorivka. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted units of the Russian armed forces stations in Staromykhliivka, Pitsky, Puryapny and Avdiivka. On the Bakhmut front line, the Russian armed forces continue to carry out offensive operations on the western outskirts of Ovyanivsky. As it is known, it is a critical area for the Russian army to reach Kosov Yar, and there are advances, of course. On the other hand, artillery and aviation of the Russian armed forces are actively working on the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in Kosov Yar. Also, in the Klishchiivka direction, the pressure of the Russian armed forces continues. However, the Ukrainian armed forces generally hold their positions and there are no significant border changes in the region. So, regarding the artillery activity in the region, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted units of the Ukrainian armed forces stations in Kosov Yar, Ivanyivsky and Klishchiivka. And in turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted units of the Russian armed forces stations in Bakhmut city center, Ivanhard and Horomov. Let me continue with the developments on the Lugansk front line. According to the latest reports, on the Lugansk front line, units of the Ukrainian armed forces are trying to launch a counter-offensive in the Tern area to recapture positions previously captured by the Russian troops. Also here, units of the Ukrainian armed forces counterattacked in Semenkiivka. However, it was not successful, and there are no border changes along the Lugansk front line. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Do you think that the Ukrainian army is losing strength on the front line? And what do you think about the current situation of the two armies on the front line? Do you think the Ukrainian army will be able to recover? And can we talk about a new Ukrainian counterattacks? Let me know in the comments, because you know how much I care about all of your comments.